What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to have a little bit of Atlas story time because one of you was very belligerent about wanting an up-close look at this pistol that I used in another video. This is a true custom Atlas single stack. Now, there's a couple terms that don't quite make sense, right? So let's unpack that a little bit. When people talk about true custom, we need a little bit of context here. I've actually filmed this video several times trying to explain this concisely. But when people talk about true custom 1911s, what they're talking about is the origin of premium 1911s. That goes back to the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, really, when really all you could get in the world of pistols was a Colt. All right. And so most of those were military surplus Colts, or certainly civilian manufacturer Colts that were of, honestly, kind of the expectation we have of them today. They're decent. They're not really great. If you had higher needs, if you had higher expectations, essentially what you had to do is you had to send something like this to a skilled artisan, a gunsmith, and they would essentially fix, more readily said, remanufacture your pistol into something a bit more refined. All right. So if you wanted undercuts on your trigger guard, if you wanted that mag well opened up, certainly if you wanted front strap texture, this one doesn't have it, but if you wanted front strap texture, if you wanted a different barrel installed, a match barrel installed, if you wanted better lockup, all right, better accuracy, if you wanted more usable sights installed, if you wanted better trigger work done, these were all things that you had to send an existing gun to a gunsmith. And as far as the action work would go, essentially they were going to throw away the barrel that you had. If you wanted premium, they were going to throw away the barrel that you had and install a new one. And then they were going to either going to weld up and remachine your rails, or peen them with a hammer, so deform them and then remachine them so that they were perfect or fit better. Or like this one has what's called AccuRails installed in it, all right? So they machined away some material and essentially put in another bearing surface in there. Those little shiny stainless dots that you see in the back there, those are AccuRails. So the material was machined away, those were installed, and that's what gives this its buttery smooth action reciprocation now. But in the world of custom 1911s, this is what people were talking about, an era where you would send them a Colt, you would get back something one-off, all right? And in the era, like, this is what you had to do if you wanted a high-performance 1911 pistol, all right? It just wasn't, the industry didn't exist like it does today. These parts didn't necessarily exist the way they did today. Like, they couldn't just get a new frame and a new slide and machine those two together. So they took an existing gun and essentially remanufactured it. So when people are hearkening back to true custom builders, they're talking about people who would whittle on existing guns. And some of those have cult followings now to the point of almost like artists, all right? Like some of these true custom guns that are floating around now, I don't know that they actually get used as guns, and they're so expensive that I don't know that it would be a financially good decision to actually use them for real. And we're talking about Atlas guns here, all right? So these guns cost another few $1,000s above the guns we're talking about, all right? And I think a Burton gun, an heirloom precision gun, I don't know personally, but I've heard they go for like $10,000 for a single stack remanufactured Colt. All right, think about that a little bit. But they're kind of custom guns. They're almost more about functional art. I think people collect them almost more as precision pieces like watches. All right, I've gotten a little bit of exposure to the watch world lately, and they're a little bit more like nice watches than they are tools to be used in shooting. But when people talk about custom guns, they talk about guns like this. Why don't guns like this really exist anymore and price points that anyone, well, not anyone, but a lot of people can afford? Or why are the people who do this even hard to find? Well, it's not profitable. It's not profitable. It takes a long time to do that work. And the customers who contract that kind of work done are kind of hard to please. And it's a tough racket. Like, there's not a lot of meat on the bone to be a successful business doing this kind of stuff. All right. Some survive, Heirloom Precision being the most prominent example. There are many others, but that's the one that a lot of people will know. But this kind of went away because it wasn't super profitable, and Wilson kind of changed the game in making a semi-custom pistol. So essentially they could manufacture the same pistol the right way the first time, which is always cheaper, out of better parts. They didn't have to throw away a bunch of parts, and they could get you the gun you wanted a lot quicker. So you get what you want faster. They can make more money on them, or be more profitable as a business making them. And they also kind of condense the same features that everyone wants into a set model. Whereas, like, it used to be like you had to fill out the checklist of like, well, what do you want done to this gun? And it felt very one-off because you had this kind of menu of things, or there was a lot of things to be improved from standard. Well, when they went into semi-custom pistols, they essentially standardized those into models, and then you get variances on the model, which doesn't have the same custom feel as a consumer. It doesn't feel the same. Like, I don't feel like I'm being catered to as much, but damn it, I could get a nicer pistol faster at a more reasonable price, and the company that did it is more profitable, so gosh darn it, they're around longer. So you have an established brand and an established support system for something like this, and this retains its value. All right, so this being a Wilson CQB is going to retain its value because Wilson CQB is a known thing. People know what it is. They know who made it. This Colt was done by somebody who was a very skilled gunsmith. They did a great job on it, but they didn't mark it. So we have no idea who it was. It doesn't come with any sort of attached reputation to it. This is just a nice Colt. Now, if this was just a nice Colt built by Larry Vickers or Jason Burton or Yost or Jardine or any of those, like somebody with a reputation, this pistol triples in value, quadruples in value, because it now has a brand behind it. Right now, it's just a very nicely executed Colt, and a Series 80 Colt at that, which makes it fairly undesirable. But if somebody does some good work on it, like this one, has a really good trigger. You wouldn't even know that there's an active firing pin safety in there. It's drop safe for all that you are that are worried about that. But so this pistol has retained its value horribly because the Smith is unknown. It's from a very undesirable, an undesirable era of Colt pistols to collect. So it's just a shooter now, really. An example of a time period. Something that's an established model retains its value. Somebody who sees this on the secondary market knows what it is. I bought this pistol on the secondary market. I know what a Wilson CQB is, and I can gauge if a price for it is fair or something I want to spend. So these retain their value better. All right, so they hit the market as a better product. It is physically better. This pistol is better than this pistol in every way. All right, so it's a better gun, made more economically with a shorter lead time, which is more and more important all the time, and it retains its value when it hits the market. And that is essentially the state that we find Atlas Gunworks in. All right, they started as a custom builder. They just hung their shingle out, but as time went on, they tried to consolidate, as many manufacturers do, but a goal of theirs was to become a semi-custom wide-body 1911 manufacturer, so that they could condense down their offerings, streamline their parts and their assembly processes, and pass that savings on to the customer. Because as expensive as Atlas guns are now, they would cost double if they were truly one-off custom guns, not streamlined the way they are today. told you that story to tell you this one, okay? So for the most part now today, Atlas Gunworks, they have established models on the website, drop-down menus, you select what they are. And that's pretty much a menu of what they do. There isn't really much in the terms of secret menu stuff that they will do. All right, because they have reached that point where they are in control of a lot of their product. They actually make a lot of their own parts, which wasn't that way in this era. It's just better for everybody that they're in established parts. But this gun harkens from an era of Atlas Gunworks where they weren't necessarily doing that. All right, so a couple things going on here. Single stacks were always kind of the B squad guns to build. I don't think that Adam is particularly passionate about building single stack guns. It was kind of like he would do it, but he always preferred the double stack 1911s, which is why that's the direction the company has gone. In addition to, that's the direction the industry has gone. So these were kind of a lingering thing at the time. And also at this time, I think this was around one of the panic eras where parts were hard to get. And so they had, vaguely remembering here, but they had just kind of made a big step as a company. I think they had brought on some more people, some more gunsmiths, and they had a hard time getting enough parts to fill all their double stack orders. So they kind of had idle hands in the shop. And so one of the big brain ideas that they had was they could get some single stack parts. And so they made some single stack guns for essentially to throw up on the website as in stock for sale. And that's what this one was. This was essentially, from what I understood when I bought it at the time, they kind of said this was somebody's training building gun. So a new apprentice gunsmith was assembling this under supervision as they were teaching them how to do stuff. But also because of the parts shortages at that time, it's also kind of a wonky configuration, because anybody wanting a single stack gun for USPSA, like me, it's got to have a bushing barrel, and this one doesn't. So this is a bull barrel, 9mm, doesn't make major, gun. And so it was kind of a gun that they built. It's a really nice gun they built, and then they kind of threw it up on the website as in stock for a while, which is where I saw it. I watched it sit there for a little while, and it was cool, but I kind of had that dilemma because it not being a bushing barrel gun, I knew I couldn't shoot it in single stack at the time. So they kind of like, oh, this would be a great Lim 10 gun, even though it's not major. You could shoot Lim 10, you could shoot Steel Challenge, be a great carry gun, which is really kind of why I bought it, was a carry gun. And it did not have an optic cut at the time. It was an iron-sighted gun. I think I have an original picture of it, which is going to be the cover of this video. So that is the configuration that I got it in. It came with a 10/8 U-notch rear sight, which is actually my preference. But it came with a iron rear sight, and I did buy it. I bought it straight up. It's not part of any sponsorship deal or whatnot, other than the cool guy discount. But I bought it straight up because I thought it was a cool gun. I just had to have it. And essentially rescued it, gave it a good home. But that's what this is. This was essentially, from what I understand, a busy work project for one of their newer gunsmiths at a time when they couldn't get double stacked parts. I think they couldn't get enough grips, or they couldn't get enough barrels. They had lots of pending orders, but they didn't have enough parts. So these were parts they could get to put some guns together to generate some revenue. And that's what this is. So it is actually marked Atlas Gunworks on the side there, even though I'm pretty sure, fairly confident this is an STI manufactured frame. That was very common at the time. You could get frames from STI. Some of my other guns are actually marked STI before Atlas was a big enough player to get their own markings and their own serial numbers. It's got a lot of Dawson parts in it. Dawson mag release. It actually has a toolless guide rod. All right. Before Atlas made their own. So Dawson guide rod. This is a this is a generic, it's not marked, so I believe this arrow was a KKM, bull barrel 9mm. As I said, at that time, the writing was on the wall already. You're going to get a lot more access to 9mm than 45 ammo going forward. So I kind of wanted a 9mm gun. Back end is all EGW parts, which was pretty par for the course at the time. They had just started importing the triggers. So this was at the very beginning of the X-Line triggers. So it is an Atlas trigger in there. And then this texture, very reminiscent of some stuff that other manufacturers have done and currently do. This was in the era of semi-custom and custom in the custom Atlas era. This was one of the textures or one of the slide treatments you could get on the drop down menu. If I do my first pistol on here ever, I actually found it the other day. I have the original paperwork from when I ordered that, when it was actually a form you had to print off and then fill out and then send them. So this was one of the treatments you get. It's kind of a diamond plate finish, front cocking serrations, rear cocking serrations, and front strap or top strap. It's tri-cut, as most Atlas slides were at the time. And then they do this super cool PVD gray. I really wish they still did this color. This is probably my favorite color that they ever did on guns. So it's a very nice kind of a deep gray. And then it came with a Techwell magazine well on the bottom. It actually came with this Techwell. And this is kind of the configuration of magwell I prefer on single stack guns. Like as an enthusiast, I just kind of enjoy the execution of these a little bit better. But this one in particular, I bought this gun kind of to put into carry systems, and for whatever reason, I just kind of never gelled with it as a carry gun. And actually works out because I don't play with my carry guns very much. I don't shoot them very much. So guns that aren't in carry gun rotation get shot more. I had this on there for a long time and it was okay. But one of the cool things about the Techwell system is they're essentially held on with the grips. So a notch in the grips is what holds the magazine well on the bottom instead of it being an integrated piece of the mainspring housing. That being the case, you can interchange the magwells on the bottom here. So when limited 10 became a thing, well, one of the things I did along the way is I did have this gun modified to take a red dot. That's not a service that Atlas Gunworks offers. And after I had sent this in and it was in queue, they told me it was probably a bad idea for the collector value of this particular pistol, but the ship had sailed. And I work for an optics company, obviously, so guns that I can use with optics get used a lot more than iron-sighted guns. Just be like that in my life. So I had this one modified for a red dot system. And then when USPSA elected to make limited 10 an optics legal division, which I am all for, it's very recent as of this video, but I'm all for it. And so essentially I had been waiting, like, yes, please make it an optic division, because I wanted to shoot this gun. So here I am with my single stack optic cut limited 10 gun. And so when I was going to go full in, I swapped this out for I think this is called the IPSC extended magwell, which gives you just a little bit more for competition use in single stack. I just want a little bit of front fence in there. Where'd I put my magazine? I just want a little bit more front fence in there, because I usually get caught up on the front if I'm going to get caught up. So, of course, this one's stuck in here now. I wanted just a little bit more of a front fence on there. And since this already had the Techwell system on it, this is fairly obnoxious. This is why, remember the magazine video? This is why I don't like the Dawson magazines. But it, it gave me just a little bit more of a competition-specific magazine well after I had pretty much decided this isn't a gun that I'm going to carry often, and I wanted to set it up for specifically a competition role. So that's this gun. It is kind of a Heinz 57 of a bunch of things. And I currently have it set up to be a limited 10 / single stack cross training gun for me, but it is kind of a cool remnant of bygone era of Atlas pistols. It's a color you can't get anymore. It's a configuration you can't get anymore. They didn't do very many of these. I don't know for a fact that this is a one of one, but it is a one of at least very few. I don't think they actually did very many guns this way. But it is pretty cool, and it does shoot very nice. I do like to shoot it quite a bit. So it is cool now that limited 10 is an optic division. This gun's gonna get some rounds through it. But that's a look at this gun, at my Atlas Gunworks limited 10 single stack gun in 9mm. If you guys have any other questions, any other cool old gun, if you like the old gun stuff, I do have a few more old Atlas gun stories I could tell. If these are cool for you and you want to see more of these, let me know. And if not, I'll think of something else to make a video on. And it's shooting season, guys. Go outside. See you on the range.